cái suất nào lên rồi chưa nó vẫn để lại thì chỉ để
Hai đen nó bị lỗi, đâm không được. Hai đen nó bị hơi có hết hạn rồi.
cái này mình có gửi sang các rồi chị muốn chuyển tiếp á
Thì tuyển trực tiếp là
forward cái nào không được sao chị không được
cái em bị lỗi.
hai đi em bị lỗi trên sổ đi nó cũng ra được vậy dạ điểm báo của đại tin chị có USB vô tôi ra đâu được cái vậy cho ông tại thân học lần tí mình mượn máy nó gửi mail
The point is that virus has been proved wrong. The population has been increasing really rapidly in the past 200 years, especially in the past 100 years. And agriculture has been able to feed most of these people, the large majority of these people. So, when you look at the number of hungry people, when you look here, this is 1970. So that's 40 years ago. 40 years ago, you also had about 900 million people that were hungry, but you had half of the population.
Khoảng 40 năm trước thì cái số lượng người đói là gần 900 triệu người, nhưng mà ở một cao chiếm nửa dân số.
So what you're seeing here is a graph showing the amount of hungry people versus the years. So from, let's say, almost 900 million people hungry, it went down. I don't know why, but this probably was a bumper year, worldwide. It went, more or less stable or going down. And then, look what happened. This is 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 2008, 2009. Remember what happened in 2008, 2009? What happened?
Chuyện gì xảy ra vào 2008 2009 cái lượng người đói lại tăng lên.
I'm asking you, what happened in 2008, 2009? No one remembers? Well, there was a world crisis. I mean, we're still not in the midst, we still at the outcome of the world crisis, but it started really strongly in these years. Okay? So, when you look at this graph, world crisis, number of hungry people jumped above 1 billion people. A very large increase. Food riots in some places. When you look, something interesting. Look at this graph here, down here. This is another graph. I tried to compress it to have it on the same years.
Đây năm 2008 2009 lại có một sự tăng giọt của số người đói mà cũng khủng hoảng. Đây là một cái điểm khác.
Any one of you has an idea what is this graph? So these are the years, and this is, I'm asking you, do you have an idea what this is on this axis here? What this is representing? Any idea?
Anh chị nào biết cái trục dọc là đại diện cho cái gì?
Well, this is the price of energy. This is the price of oil.
Giá của năng lượng, giá dầu.
So when you see the price of oil is going up, the number of hungry people is going up. Why is that so? The reason I think is obvious. We talked about intensive agriculture. We're going to come back to it. We're going to come back to it in a moment. But before that, let's have a look of going back to why Malthus was wrong. In the 1960s, the average consumption in the world was 2,300 calories per person per day. Someone like me, who does nothing but teaching, not strong physical work, I need about that amount of calories. Someone who's doing physical work needs much more than that. But in that time, so that was the average, but very unevenly distributed. About half of the people in the developing countries suffered from chronic undernutrition in the 1960s.
Nên 60 thì cái khẩu phần trung bình của mỗi người là 2.300 calorie, nhưng mà một nửa cái số người ở các nước phát triển đó thì chịu cái sự suy giảm cái thiếu dinh dưỡng.
So in 30 years, by 1994, in 30 years, the number of calories per person in the world increased to 2,700, and the number of undernourished people in the developing world has been reduced to 20% out of 50%, so less than half.
Sau 30 năm, từ năm 1900 tới năm 1994 thì cái lượng thức ăn calorie tăng lên, nhưng mà cái lượng cái dinh dưỡng giảm xuống.
Again, proving or showing that Malthus was not really right. Okay? The principal problem is that many people in the world do not have sufficient land to grow or income to purchase enough food, because food production actually in the world should be sufficient for everybody. The problem again is the same that in many other things, is a problem of distribution.
Cái vấn đề là không có nhiều người trên thế giới có đủ đất để trồng trọt hoặc là có đủ thu nhập để mua đủ.
If there are 2,700 calories per person per day, that's sufficient for everybody. Okay, so how did we get there? How is it that the world has been able to feed itself mostly, while the population has been increasing so rapidly? The answer is here, in the Green Revolution.
Câu trả lời cho vấn đề nếu như mà người nói này là một xanh.
Alright, the Green Revolution, the green here is very different from the green we talked previously. The Green Revolution doesn't have anything to do with environmental policy. Okay, so the Green Revolution has one father. The Green Revolution actually is the increase in food production that has been taking place in the past 50 years. It's called Green Revolution because a lot of plants have been able to grow very rapidly and very efficiently. The father of the Green Revolution is this man. Do you know him? Norman Borlaug. He was a Nobel laureate. He got the Nobel Prize. Do you know what he got the Nobel Prize in? What type of prize he got? Nobel Prize. You know, Nobel Prize people get in chemistry, in economics, in physics. What Nobel Prize did he get? He had a Peace Nobel Prize. You know why?
He saved people's lives.
He saved people's lives, but the Nobel Prize, why Peace Nobel? Because there's no Nobel Prize in agriculture, and there's not even Nobel Prize in biology. There's Nobel Prize in physiology and medicine. So the only thing that people could give him to thank him was to give him the Nobel Prize in peace. Okay, so that's for the details. What is the important thing you see, the important difference you see in these two pictures? Not here, this one is black and white, this was in color, okay. What is the important detail you see? The height. This is 1940, this is in 1970. What you're seeing here is the same crop, it's wheat. Here you see the wheat in 1940, I mean, he didn't grow up, right? He didn't grow up. So the wheat here has been shortened. That's maybe the main point, one of the main points. So he was able to shorten the height of the wheat and to make the stones stronger to keep the grains and larger grains. You all know this. You know this in rice here. Okay? And these developments brought a revolution in agriculture. So in 1943, in Mexico, they imported all of their wheat. Then in 1956, they were self-sufficient. And then in 1964, they already exported 500,000 tons of wheat. And in India, they were starving in the beginning of 1960s, and then you can see from the 1950s to 2010, more or less, the production of wheat in India has increased tremendously. So this is all in developing countries. You can see the change in yield per kilograms per hectare, all crops together, increasing tremendously in the last 40 years. 50 years. Okay? How this is, so you have this large increase in yields. What are the consequences of this? You have increased revenue. If you have higher yields, you have increased revenues for farmers. Farmers can buy equipment, and then the yield decreases again. Oops, no, sorry, yeah, it's okay, yeah. And this leads about decreasing food prices, better nutrition, and better health. Okay? This means better education, more opportunities, increase in general wealth. That's what this intensive industrial green revolution agriculture has been able to provide. Do you want to translate that or?
Các anh chị có thể đọc trên slide được không?
Okay. Okay. So when you look at it, about a third of the world's force is employed in agriculture. 30% of the people are still employed in agriculture today. In Israel, it's 3%, but in the world at large, it's 30%. Yet, agriculture provides only 5%. 5% of the global economy is agriculture. 30% of the people working. Okay? Industry is 30%, services is 60% of the global economy. So, yeah.
Có 1/3 của lực lượng lao động thế giới là làm việc ở nông nghiệp, lại cung cấp tới 5% của tổng thu nhập tổng sản lượng của GDP, trong khi là công nghiệp là 32% và chỉ lĩnh vực dịch vụ 64%.
For me, this is a very strong reminder, a very, very strong reminder that today we are all in a market economy. You are, we are in a market economy. And market economies tell us that what is important is this. So think 1 second, 5%, take it out. Say you need 95% of the world's economy, but you take out agriculture. What happens to the rest of the 95%?
Chúng ta ở nền kinh tế thị trường chỉ quan tâm tới tiền, nhưng mà nghĩ coi nếu như chúng ta không có cái sản lượng cho nông nghiệp 5% đó thì còn lại 95% như thế nào?
So, in real terms, not only in money terms, in real terms, the actual weight of agriculture in the world's economy is by far higher than what it is represented in financial terms.
Cho nên nói cái ích lợi của nông nghiệp thì là lớn hơn cái biện pháp kinh tế như là cái chỉ số GDP chỉ ra.
Yet we're seeing very important developments socially, and this course is going to be about bioinformatics and microbiology. Yeah, I think it is still very important to remember the big picture before we get into the microbes.
Tôi nghĩ rất là quan trọng để các anh chị nhìn thấy cái bức tranh rộng toàn cảnh trước khi là đi sâu vào chuyên môn.
So what we're seeing here is the percentage of people living in rural areas and living in cities. And for instance, when you look why do people leave, and you know this, I guess, from Vietnam, and you know this from your big neighbor in China, why do people leave their homes in the farmlands and come to the city? When you look, this is the ratio, this is how much money you make in the city versus how much money you make in the villages. So in the cities, people make, in average in China, 3.5 times more money in the city than in the village. So people leave the village to come to the city, right? With all the problems that creates, of course. So this actually, Green Revolution has been the driver of many changes. You need less people to grow crops, more people are flowing into the cities, and more input is put into the land. There are many factors which contributed, in addition to having the short plants, to the increasing yields in the world. But we're not going to pass through this. You have the slides. You can look through it. When we talked about inequality, there's inequality in how these factors are represented in the increases in agriculture in the world. For instance, when you look in Latin America and the Caribbean, most of the increase in agriculture, or a large part of it, has been because of land clearing, of making more land transformed into agriculture. In Asia, it's been because of yield increase. So these are totally different problems in different countries, and this relates to what I said in the beginning. We all have to adapt to particular situations. Do you want to translate that, or? Okay? So, the reasons for the success of the green revolutions are here. We mentioned it's the genetics of the high yield of short cultivars, etc. The chemistry, we're going to see that later on, the chemistry which is providing fertilizers. And don't forget the politics. Politics are always around. It was the end of World War II, towards the Green Revolution. Borlaug is an American. He was working in Mexico. At the time, you remember, there was the US and the USSR, and they were competing. So they were not only competing in the military, they were competing in politics. One of the ways to bring things around is to make agriculture better in developing countries. And that was one of the reasons the US departments all supported agricultural development. But at least for that, it was a good thing. So the positive summary of that is that there's a huge increase in production, decrease in hunger, better health, increased prosperity, higher living standards, food security at local and national levels. This is all these very positive sides of the Green Revolution. Do you agree?
Đây là tóm tắt những cái lợi ích của cuộc cách mạng xanh, như là sự tăng rất là lớn trên năng lượng sản xuất và giảm nạn đói, sức khỏe được tăng tài sản, có những cái mức sống cao hơn, an toàn lương thực ở mức độ nội địa, ở mức độ quốc gia.
But, and there's a but, from green to red, there's a but. First of all, the gains, the benefits are not balanced. It's not the same everywhere. So when you look at the increase in yield, so you look at the EU, you look at North America, you look at Southeast Asia, it's much less than North America, and far behind you have Africa, which has not benefited from the Green Revolution, not yet. Maybe it will in the future.
Cái sản lượng tăng trưởng nông nghiệp thì chủ yếu ở các nước phát triển, và các nước đang phát triển thì tăng không nhiều.
Okay, so that's problem number one, is the world increasing population. We saw that this is in part, in large part, buffered by the increase in yields. World problem number two is what we're seeing here. This is food, right? And this is food. There's a big difference. I'm not talking about the taste. There's a big difference between this food and this food. Now, why is that such a difference? When you look at these people here, this is in Niger, I think. This is their kitchen. When you look at these people here, this is in America. This is what they eat. When you look at these people here, it's in Germany, this is what they eat. So, well, there's a difference between here and here. Here it's more manufactured products, here you have more fruits, vegetables, and more meat. But there's a huge difference between these ones and these ones, right? It's not only about the quantity. It's also about the quality, about what they eat.
Cái vấn đề thứ hai, vấn đề thứ nhất là sự gia tăng dân số, vấn đề thứ hai là về chất lượng và số lượng thực phẩm.
One of the main differences is this. In developed countries, people eat a lot of meat. And when you look at the cost of it, not how much it costs when you buy it. When you look at the agricultural and environmental cost of meat, that makes a huge difference. About 1/3 of the cereal production in the world is going to feed animals.
Ở các nước phát triển thì người ta sử dụng nhiều thịt, và 1/3 của cái sản lượng ngũ cốc của thế giới là để dùng để cho bò chăn nuôi lấy thịt các gia súc.
Half of the agricultural area, I think, I read that not a long time ago, is going for feeding and breeding animals. So it's the energy conversion. In order to make 1 kilo of this, you need 10 kilos of that. Water, chemicals, etc. Okay? So why is that a problem? The problem is that it makes even the differences between the countries even more pronounced. This is the increase in demand in meat. So you see this is along the years and how the demand for meat is increasing. And this is the increase in cereal production, in plant production in general. So this is translated in inputs, how much you need. So when you look, this is the production of meat here. It's growing and growing and growing, and this is the production of cereals.
Qua các biểu đồ anh chị có thấy cái sự tăng một cái sản lượng tiêu thụ, lượng tiêu thụ của thịt thì bao giờ cũng tăng cao hơn sản lượng tiêu thụ không?
So you see, it's not going the same. It's not exactly having the same trends. This is nitrogen fertilizers, and this is phosphorus fertilizers.
Cái sản lượng sử dụng cho phân bón
This is the land used for irrigation, and this is the pesticides. When you think about it, a lot of what we're using here, and here is actually not to grow the plants, it's to grow the meat. This is the financial, and we see, of course, the environmental cost of growing meat.
Như vậy chúng ta phải sử dụng rất là nhiều cái môi trường, sử dụng hóa chất để tăng cái sản lượng thịt chứ không phải là
When you look at nitrogen fertilizers are central to growing plants. We all know that. The Green Revolution was based on two things: cultivars, the plants, and the availability of nitrogen fertilizers.
các mạng nông nghiệp, các mạng nông nghiệp xanh thì phụ thuộc vào cái cây trồng và phân bón.
Nitrogen fertilizers are made in chemical ways, in chemical plants, taking the nitrogen from the air, turning it into ammonia, which is then used to make fertilizers. The amount of fertilizers that were produced today is about 150 million tons a year. And in terms of energy, because this uses a lot of energy, 500 degrees, 500 atmospheres, it's about the same consumption of energy that all the air traffic in the world.
Cái năng lượng dùng để sản xuất cái năng lượng phân bón thì bằng 2% của năng lượng thế giới tiêu thụ để trong vận chuyển.
So you remember the correlation between the number of hungry people and the price of energy? Very high. This is the main reason for it, or a main reason for it. Okay? Oh, okay, it's here. Right. The second price that is paid for this development, of course, is pollution. So fertilizers bring about eutrophication, so the release of nutrients into water streams, lakes, seas, bodies of water. This brings about the growth of